Transformers, Autobots, and Decepticons. I know that Transformers Reactivate is canceled, but we are starting to see a lot of developers and other people starting to come to light and share their story regarding Transformers Reactivate's development. And we have a massive truth bomb that just was dropped a day ago, it says, but we just noticed it that it is a very lengthy post regarding the events of what happened in Transformers Reactivate. Now, I can kind of confirm this, but at the same time, I truly don't fully know the full gist of absolutely everything just yet, but I have been contacting developers. I do have an exclusive source, and there are others that I'm trying to get a hold of to try and confirm all of this layout and actually get something out to you guys through somebody else to be able to get a documentary to you guys, to be able to get a clear vision as to what's going on. What did go on within Splash Damage, what happened to the whole direction with Transformers Reactivate. So we're going to read this article that just showed up on Reddit, and I don't know how long this is going to be up for because it could get taken down, but I think this is truly true because the things that I have heard are almost one for one with what this guy says. This is a burner account for obvious reasons, but since the game is now finally publicly dead, might as well share what really happened here, since there's a lot of misinformation and speculation. The too long didn't read is, Splash switched from making a live service free-to-play game to trying to make a premium AAA game we hoped you would all wanted a few years back, which is true. A lot of Transformers fans wanted that, and the developers wanted to give us that. However, like he says, we never settled on a final vision for the game, and so spent years going through in circles, making these cool demos, which is basically vertical slices, barely anything there, that never extended much beyond 1 or 2 missions and 3 Transformers that they made. And I can confirm for you guys that is Elita 1, RC, and I don't know if they finished Megatron or not. I wish I could confirm with somebody, but they basically made some they updated Transformers, and they made 3 Transformers, I do believe. The others that came from Certain Affinity's build basically got kept in the game, so anything that you've seen from CA I think was pretty much kept. Continuing on though, Tencent believed in it enough to give us an extra year beyond our original deadline, but eventually it was obvious to them and Splash that we weren't making enough progress, and they finally pulled the plug back in summer of 2024. Since then, Splash has been scrambling to find either other funding for Transformers or hopefully another project for the team. So it makes sense. We go back to the toys. They released those toys to try and get funding for Transformers Reactivate so that they could get this game out to us. So they tried to use the toys as a means of being able to get funding for Transformers Reactivate in some way, shape, or form. It's very unfortunate, guys, and I was going to make a 30-minute video ranting about this whole thing, but at the same time, we basically know what happened, especially through the Glassdoor's reviews. All I'm trying to say, guys, is that basically this game should have been handed off to a new studio, I think. And I'm not trying to bash the devs. I'm just saying that I feel like the game should have maybe brought in a new partner or brought in a new dev studio that would take the leadership of the game, and Splash Damage more of they are a support to the head dev team. I think that's what should have happened. I'm not sure if that's logical or not. I'm not a developer, but I think that might have been the best option, or just shifting the whole set of assets off to a new studio, rename it, whatever. I know that would have been a lot more money maybe, but at the same time, I feel like it could have worked. Continuing on here, since then, Splash has been scrambling to either find funding for Transformers or more hopefully another project for the team. Exactly what I just said. That's failed, and so they finally announced the cancellation and layoffs of a huge chunk of the team who worked on it. Man, right off the bat, guys, I'm super sad, and even like going through some of this information that I've been hearing, I'm extremely sad just even hearing about any of this. Some specifics. Most of the leaks you've been looking at for years were from certain Affinity days. And yes, I get it. That was all on my channel. But at the same time, we didn't really have much to go on, and there was no real definitive sources out there, like real splash damage devs or ex-splash damage devs, that were coming to being able to talk with us, because this game was going to be huge, guys. This game was going to be amazing. And unfortunately, people were under such heavy NDAs that Hasbro and Tencent didn't want people getting any information out about this game. Continue on here. Were from certain Affinity days and didn't represent what Splash had been doing. Everything about the game, including the story, changed so often that apparent from it being a post-apocalyptic, anything else you've seen and heard was long since out of date, which is true. And now you guys know about that. That recent gameplay leak in the first leak, we're talking about the one, the UE5, the very first UE5 footage that came out, is the first leak that I've seen that was from Splash content. But even then, that was years old from the final free-to-play version. Not seen any leaks from any of the premium demos is what he's trying to say. He hasn't seen any of the final 2024 stuff. And I've seen screenshots personally, but I haven't seen full-on gameplay. The team at Splash were always professional, so it didn't surprise me that they never leaked stuff. Why was the development such a failure, he says, in question mark. Splash spent years successfully doing work for hire, and the Tencent buyout was supposed to be their chance to work on their own projects, period. Okay, so let's talk about that. So yes, they were doing a lot of outsourcing for splash damage, and just seeing this alone, it really, really sucked. Because yes, development studios, they do outsource a lot, but at the same time, a lot of that was being thrown onto other studios and then having to be coming back because whether they were understaffed or something else like that, like he said, they were outsourcing a lot. And then Tencent buyout was supposed to be their chance to work on their own projects, which is interesting because yes, the managers did want to continue to constantly work on their own looter shooter IP, which was Project Astrid. Continuing on here, sadly switching to owning our own projects was a total mess. Without another company taking the creative reins and holding us to account, we just went around in circles and never happy with anything. Every transformer, every enemy, every level was redesigned over and over again. So things like the certain Affinity enemies, as you saw, were redesigned. They were still Legion, but they were redesigned in their own way. And I have seen screenshot or cutouts of the new Legion enemies, but at the same time, they are... It almost looks like they have white armor on them. And you saw that a little bit in that UE5 alpha demo of 5.0 or whatever. But they do look a little bit different, but they're kind of weird. Their own animations they're a little bit weird. Barely anything there in that alpha demo, but I'm sure it was a lot better in 2024. So continuing on, we had so many different leadership people join and leave the project. Each one of them was unhappy with something or everything, causing us to throw away months of work and start again. We just did this over and over and ended up with no game but a lot of unused assets. So that is so unfortunate that things that they wanted to put into the game never ended up getting used or implemented properly in a complete state. One thing I want to promise though, believe it or not, the team loved Transformers, and that's true. There was a lot of Transformers fans on the development team for Splash Damage and wanted to make an incredible game the fans would love. They ditched the free-to-play service, which I can confirm. When it became obvious people would love it, no one was blind to all the failures like Avengers. The various versions of the story were all love letters to fans, which is true. Like classic G1 fans, people who have played the High Moon Studios games. There's so many things, even in the certain Affinity version of the game, that were even still apparent in the Splash Damage version of the game a little bit. You could see it, like switching between your weapons, like, oh, the switching in between the weapons almost looked like War for Cybertron, which is actually pretty cool. And I did like that, but also at the same time, you could still see it in certain Affinities version too. So many people working on it were huge Transformers fans, and they really wanted this to be the big AAA game we've dreamed of. And there are other people, though, that have already commented on this, that have worked on this game, and they talk about working with a storyline, and they think it should have been the next big, the biggest Transformers game we have ever seen yet to date. And it would have been a game that would have been for months and years to come. That golden age that I talked to you guys about previously, I think this would have been Transformers Reactivate. And it's so sad this game got canceled the way it has. Sadly, the vision of what a AAA premium experience would be never really solidified, despite experimenting with just about everything. It was a huge open world. Then it was a level based. Then it was Division style hybrid. Then it was Wildlands style open world. We had MMO style bosses, and this is what I love the most, and this is what I truly called for in some of my videos, and I think it would have been absolutely amazing to see MMO style bosses. And they talk on saying, and a horde mode at one point, which is basically like escalation. We tried everything, and nothing was ever good enough. Nothing ever stuck. Towards the end, maybe we were starting to figure it out, but we were 3 years in with only a single cool demo level for all of it to show at the time and effort. It was a huge shame, but probably the smart business move from Tencent's side of view. All the stuff about this being a Liu scam, I don't know. Maybe all that was true for Liu, but never for Splash and Tencent's side. So that's just it, guys. And that's one of the things that is really ugly, is when people started talking about Liu Technologies all of a sudden out of the blue when the game got canceled. Guys, that is old news. That is old stuff. That should not matter. That was part of Certain Affinity's side of things, and not specifically the company, but it was Liu that was the problem back then. That was the problem, not Certain Affinity. And so, and yes, it was a skeleton crew for Certain Affinity, but like that's a totally different story. This is splash damage we're talking about. Totally different story. So when we talk about Liu, that has nothing to do with the current state of the game. It was a new developer, new studio. So when people are talking about the stuff about like, it's been in development for like 8 years. Well, guys, no, it's actually been in development for like what, 4 years, 3 years, 5 years, or something like that for splash damage. I can't remember the years, but like 2022 to 2024 summer, that was basically how long? So what, 3 years? So, or sorry, from 2020 I should say. So basically 5 years almost. Yeah, it just goes to show, guys, like people are harping on this game and its development studio when you really should be looking at like the higher ups, management, that sort of thing. So continuing on here, from that side, a long, genuine, and very expensive effort was made to make a game. It just wasn't to be. One thing that is universal though across business, while most of the team who worked crazy hours over and over again are now looking for work, the leadership figures who sent us around in circles all got to keep their jobs. What does that say to you guys? It just means that a lot of people were bashed or given very toxic work environment and work to the bone. And these guys were just roughhoused around, basically, it seems like, and management did not give them a good time whatsoever. And of course, it was constant in and out of management, right? It sounds to me like the management was the problem, and that's what primarily caused the game to go under, is because of their lack of properly funding the game, their lack of leadership for trying to get a good vision for the game. And maybe it did take that long for them to try and fully figure things out, but I feel like the time in between where they weren't receiving any funding and from summer 2024 to whatever time it was, I feel like they should have been able to find a new company to try and help Splash Damage, or to be able to figure things out, to continue the IP, to make this an amazing game that would bring in new people from outside of the Transformers fandom to enjoying the Transformers fandom, to revitalize the whole Transformers gaming fandom, content, cinematic industry of Transformers gaming and bring it to a light that stands up against other big name studios and other big games that are out there and have a name for itself. Transformers would be back on the map again if this game did not get canceled. And I bet you a lot of Splash Damage developers feel the exact same way. They got this game ripped away from them, and they feel so saddened by not only losing their jobs, and I feel my heart goes out to these guys because that kind of situation sucks, and it's not cool the way they got let go or laid off the way they did. And just seeing this game go under, I am beyond frustrated with Tencent and the management from Splash Damage. The developers don't deserve this. They worked passionately on this game, and they do not deserve it. Whenever I talk to a dev, they constantly say, absolutely loved the people in the company. They loved the employees that they worked with, but it was upper management that decided to screw them over. And that's what I don't understand is, if you wanted to make this a profitable game, why did you end up circling around the way like this article says? Anyway, long story short, guys, is yes, Transformers Reactivate is canceled. It sucks, and I'm very frustrated, but to hear this, and no doubt when the documentary does get made, whenever that does come out from somebody that I know, I think it's going to be an absolutely amazing, well, not an amazing storyline, but at least paints a clearer picture for you guys. This is just maybe part of the story from one perspective, and there are certainly a lot more. Things are starting to come out from different Certain Affinity and even Splash Damage whenever their NDA does come up for artworks and various things, so that's starting to lift. And you're starting to see it posted online, and it's out there. So long story short, guys, is people are starting to show stuff from the game, knowing now that it is canceled. But until then, guys, hopefully maybe one day there will be that demo from 2024 that gets leaked somewhere or given to somebody or comes out of the woodworks. I really do hope it does, because I think it would be nice to be able to experience a Transformers game, the vision that Splash Damage truly had for this game, and see what it was truly like. I don't think that the UE5 footage that got released even compares or appalls whatsoever to the full vision of what Splash Damage truly had in 2024. I know some stuff, and it was gonna be absolutely epic, but unfortunately I've been asked to not share that information just yet. Until then, guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope to share more light on this in the near future. But until then, guys, it's frustrating. But this is actually very informative. So whoever the developer was that did share this with us, thank you so much. If there are other developers that are willing to talk with me privately, we will keep you 100% anonymous, even especially for the documentary. But if you want to share anything with us, please let us know. We are trying to do some investigative stuff on learning the true story about the development cycle and what happened with Transformers Reactivate. Until then, guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys all enjoyed, and I hope you guys got a clear picture of what happened with Transformers Reactivate. Until then, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you all in my next video.
Weak scum. About a quarter